Reptiles and amphibians are some of the most awesome animals in Virginia. What's their life cycle? Where do they live? What do they eat? Let's join the Cub Scouts from Pack 706 as we journey to Virginia's most remote habitats to learn about some of the coolest animals around, reptiles and amphibians. It's a look outside.
Hi, I'm Clay from Den 4.
Hi, I'm Jacob from Den 4.
Hi, I'm John from Den 4.
Hi, I'm Woody from Den 4.
Hi, I'm Brand from Den 4.
Hi, I'm Jacob from Den 4.
Hi, I'm Dennis McElhenney, Den Leader, Den 4, Pack 706 of the Heart of Virginia Council.
The Scouts are visiting Three Lakes Nature Center in Richmond, where Susan Watson, a wildlife biologist and expert on all things creepy and crawly, will introduce them to some very special creatures.
Hi, everyone. Hi. We have a great day today. Does everybody know what we're going to talk about today?
Amphibians and reptiles.
That's right, amphibians and reptiles. Does everybody know with amphibians how they're different from reptiles, the main difference?
Reptiles have scales, amphibians have slimy skin.
That's right. Amphibians do not have the scales that reptiles have.
Amphibians differ from reptiles in that they have smooth, moist skin, and the young go through a metamorphosis phase in which their body changes. Reptiles have scales covering most of their bodies, and the young resemble the adults. Virginia has three major groups of amphibians: frogs, toads, and salamanders. There are also three major groups of reptiles: turtles, snakes, and lizards.
This is a tiger salamander, eastern tiger salamander. This is actually a state endangered species in Virginia. And this is probably one of the largest, not the largest, but it is one of the largest salamanders in the state. Tiger salamanders are interesting in that most of their life they're on land. They like to live under stuff like moss, like you see on this guy, under logs in rotting soil or wood. What do you think they like to eat? You got a guess?
Worms.
Worms, very good. Yep, they like to eat worms. What else is in there?
Bugs like termites if they're in a log.
Yep, they'll eat bugs, termites, whatever they can find. Another neat thing about these guys is when they have babies, they need to find water. And what's really important with these guys is they need water that doesn't have fish in it.
Amphibians like the tiger salamander need a unique habitat to live in and bear their young, like the shallow pools created by spring rain and melting snow. These vernal pools can dry up completely in the summer, so they don't support predators like fish that would eat the salamander larvae. But amphibians such as frogs, toads, and the spotted salamander find the vernal pools the perfect place to lay eggs. Every year on a dark, rainy night in February, instinct drives these spotted salamanders to migrate to a tiny vernal pool near the James River, where they breed and lay their eggs, ensuring their species' survival. In the past, this journey ended badly for some salamanders as they got run over by cars along River Road. But luckily for these little amphibians, the local neighbors, along with James River Park employees, have made sure they have a safe passage across River Road.
These salamanders require certain conditions in order to live. They have to have some shaded hillside, they have to have a deep, rich soil, and they have to have a place where they can breed without fish nearby. And these vernal pools, the edge of the roadway, the ditches, serve that purpose. And isn't it wonderful? Creatures about this big, slow moving, virtually no teeth, tiny little like sandpaper inside, no claws, no speed, walking hot dogs in terms of the food value for other creatures. In order to protect them, we close the road so that when some of the salamanders meander onto the asphalt surface, they don't get squished by automobiles. And interestingly enough, people who live in this community are delighted to close down the road to save the salamanders.
Both the tiger and the spotted salamanders are pretty big, but not the biggest. Growing up to 2 feet long, the Hellbender is Virginia's largest salamander. They're aquatic animals that live in rocky streams where they nest under rocks and logs. Fishermen who happen to catch a Hellbender by accident often wonder what this strange fish is that's grown arms and legs. These little amphibians are pretty cool too.
Salamanders have spots on some. Did you notice how these guys have been getting pretty active in my hands? That's probably because my hands are really warm. And there is something about reptiles and amphibians that's much different from us. Does anybody know what it's called when they're dependent on the outside temperature?
They're cold-blooded.
That's right, they're cold-blooded.
Both reptiles and amphibians are cold-blooded or ectothermic, meaning their bodies don't generate a lot of heat, so they must move between sun and shade to regulate their body temperature. Mammals and birds are warm-blooded or endothermic, meaning their bodies generate heat and maintain a constant body temperature. Since reptiles and amphibians are dependent upon the external environment to regulate their temperature, they become inactive when outside temperatures fall. Warm, late winter days will increase the activity levels of both reptiles and amphibians. This is why we hear spring peepers in February and may even see a snake on a warm winter day.
January cottonmouth.
Amphibians are unique because their bodies undergo metamorphosis, a Greek word meaning to change in form. The change begins when the eggs hatch into tadpoles with gills, a tail for swimming, and a small mouth designed to feed on algae and plants. This tadpole stage underwater could last just a few weeks or up to 2 years, depending on the species. As the tadpole grows, its body undergoes major changes. Hind legs appear, then front legs. The mouth widens, the lungs develop, and the tail is absorbed as the tadpole becomes a frog or a toad. Reptiles differ from amphibians in that they don't go through a metamorphosis phase as the amphibians do. Scales, claws, and shells are what give reptiles their unique look and make them noticeably different than amphibians.
This is a broadhead skink, a female broadhead skink.
Broadhead and 5-lined skinks are commonly seen in wooded areas and even in the backyard. They like to feed on insects and spiders.
This is a wood turtle. Wood turtles, another rare one in the state. This is a state-threatened species found mostly in northern and northwestern Virginia. They are kind of neat in that they spend most of the winter and some of the fall and spring in the streams, and they tend to come out more on land in the summer, spring and summer.
The Department of Game and Inland Fisheries has several studies underway to learn more about the home range and life history of turtles.
The one on my right is a wood turtle, and the one on my left is a box turtle. And both of these turtles can be found up on land, and sometimes even along the margins of the water and in the water sometimes. The two big differences between these turtles is that the box turtle has a highly domed shell. You'll find it varying in color from black with yellow to orange mottling. It also has a bottom shell or a plastron that is hinged, and this is unique. There's only a few species that have this hinged plastron, and I'm pointing to it right now. And this enables that turtle to completely enclose itself within its shell. And this is a very good way to keep from predators from getting in there and trying to make a meal of you. The other species, the wood turtle, is brown with yellow flecks and yellow mottling, also orange. It has bright orange feet and skin. And the difference is that it's somewhat flattened, although it does have these sculptured pyramid-like scutes. And this turtle cannot close its bottom shell to keep away from predators, what it does is uses its large front feet, which are heavily scaled, and it pushes those inside the shell and protects its head from being in contact with a raccoon or a possum or a skunk that would try to make a meal of it.
Box turtles are becoming less common in Virginia due to loss of habitat. Many become casualties on our roadways as they travel to find mates and to lay eggs. Many people like to give turtles a helping hand by moving them across the road. If you do move one, always move it in the direction it was heading. Moving it back where it came from will only endanger it again as it continues to try to cross.
We're on our last group of reptiles. Does everybody know what that is?
Snakes!
Is anybody afraid of snakes? Just a couple people in the back. Well, I promise I don't have anything dangerous. And I would like to assure everybody that all snakes in the wild, especially in Virginia, are nothing to fear. Even the venomous snakes, a bite is a very, very, very last resort.
Snakes are perhaps the most misunderstood animals in Virginia. While many people fear them, the truth is snakes are beneficial creatures as they feed on rodents like rats and mice that can harbor disease and destroy property.
This one is called an eastern king snake. Does anybody know why they might call it a king snake?
Because it's big.
It's a big one. They do get pretty big. There's a different reason they call it a king snake. There's something they like to eat that makes them the king.
Other snakes?
Yeah, all other snakes, basically. They eat all other snakes. They'll even eat a venomous snake. They'll eat copperheads and rattlesnakes and cottonmouths. They somehow are immune to the venom, so if they are bitten, they're okay. But they, like black rat snakes, they actually will coil around their prey and squeeze until it can't breathe, and so they can handle it and swallow it whole. So if we could open our mouths as big as they could with that type of stretching and tendons and everything, we could open our mouths as big as our hips and down to our bellies. And be able to maybe swallow something like a watermelon whole. So that's how they're able to swallow things whole. They also have the non-venomous snakes, and even the venomous snakes have these teeth as well, a little row of teeth on the bottom and the top, and the teeth are curved back like thorns. So that helps when they catch something and trying to swallow it down, that helps push it back into their throat and down the rest of their system. And this is all a big bluff. This is called a hognose snake. This one is not a venomous snake like a copperhead, even though it may look like it's dangerous, especially that bluff it just did. This one's used to people. This kind of snake usually goes through a whole act of bluffing.
The fearsome-looking Hognose Snake is Virginia's best actor, putting on a show guaranteed to frighten off most predators. If spreading his hood, hissing, and striking doesn't scare you away, plan B is to roll over and play dead. Once the coast is clear, he'll again roll over and crawl away. There are 3 species of venomous snakes in Virginia: the copperhead, the cottonmouth, and the timber rattlesnake. These species all play a valuable role in the ecosystem and should be left alone, as they are normally not aggressive towards humans. The copperhead is the only venomous snake found throughout all of Virginia. They can be recognized by their copper-colored head and the hourglass pattern on their bodies. The timber rattler is only found in remote areas like this rocky outcropping in Virginia's western mountains. Amazingly, an isolated population of rattlers also exists in a small area of eastern Virginia. This group is known as Canebrake Rattlesnakes. Department biologists trying to protect this remnant population of eastern rattlers must brave overgrown, thick swamps and use special equipment to track and study these snakes.
Basically, because they're so cryptic and they're so hard to find, you really can't study them without this equipment. Basically, we do surgery on the animal and we implant a transmitter inside of them. It's about the size of a AA battery and it has about an antenna about the length of a foot. So we actually implant this transmitter inside them and run the antenna up the side of their body, then we suture them back up. We use this receiver to come out here and track the signal. So the transmitter that we're putting in the snake is always sending out a constant signal, and we use the receiver to pick up that signal and locate where they're at. The antenna just amplifies the signal that's being sent out. And it has a range of about 400 or 500 yards maximum. And with this, we're able to tell, you know, as we approach, when we're like 2 meters from the snake, we're able to tell that, and we can get a direction, and then we do just pretty much stand there and stare until we can actually see the snake. There's a lot of times where, you know, I come up and I know it's dead in front of me and it's 3 meters ahead of me, and I still have to stand there. That's one of the things that amazes most people when they come out to the site, is to stand there and have me tell them, you know, once I finally see the snake, to say, all right, the snake is, you know, it's 3 meters ahead, it's sitting right there, it's underneath that branch, and, you know, just tell them exactly where it's at. And it amazes them that they still have to stand there and stare for that long to just pick out the pattern.
Where is he?
So he's dead ahead, about 3 meters, sitting in the leaf litter, coiled up.
Okay, let me see if I can find him here.
He's pretty bright, he stands out pretty well because he's freshly shed.
Oh, yeah, brilliant.
That's a pretty decent sized male right there.
Let's take a look at the camouflage on some other snakes. Now you see them. Now you don't. Both reptiles and amphibians are important predators that help keep our ecosystem in balance by eating insects, rodents, and other small animals. The common American toad loves to feast on insects like ants. Whoa! Let's check that out in slow motion. The black rat snake is one of Virginia's most common snakes.
And a lot of these animals are actually good pest control, natural pest control.
The black snake, with its appetite for mice, is welcome in barns and outbuildings throughout their range. The black rat snake uses constriction to quickly kill the mouse and then extends its jaws to swallow it whole.
Oh my God.
This one's very active.
The big pine snake, which lives in the western part of Virginia, wraps things up for the scouts.
Well, I thought it was cool to see all the different salamanders because I really like salamanders and learn about them. My favorite animal was the tiger salamander because it was slimy and it has a cool pattern. When I go to my cousin's house, we always go to like this little puddle and it has like thousands of salamanders.
I like the albino salamander because it was white and had pink eyes.
I liked the pine snake because it would hiss a lot and I just like snakes.
Virginia has a rich diversity of reptiles and amphibians and has the diverse habitats that support them. 61 species of reptiles live here, from sea turtles living off the Atlantic coast to snakes living in the Blue Ridge Mountains. 74 species of amphibians can be found in our state. Reptiles and amphibians need the right combination of food, water, shelter, and space in order to exist. The Department of Game and Inland Fisheries is concerned about a third of Virginia's reptiles and amphibians because their habitats are disappearing or becoming polluted. Virginia's Wildlife Action Plan will monitor their numbers and attempt to keep them from declining to the point when they'd be considered endangered. The next time you take a look outside and find a reptile or amphibian in your backyard, remember the important place these creatures have in the ecosystem. Never disturb them, but enjoy watching them from a distance.